There were just some times in life when you are just better being ignorant to the ways of the common man. And that's really important about what we're about to get into because it's like, it's been a couple of days since I went to the usual spots to check in on news and do things like that because I've been busy doing other stuff. And then all of a sudden I get bombarded with the word function and I'm trying to find out what the hell people are talking about. And then I read what people were talking about and I'm sitting here right now not trying to digest it, but in a state after reading it a couple of times exactly what was said, of understanding exactly what was said here. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, combo things, set characters or functions, they don't matter. That the characters that you want are associated with functions, and that Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite brings you those functions within other characters, so those characters won't be missed. I can understand this from both sides of the ball. I can understand this from a standpoint of someone who grew up in that time when like Marvel 2 was insane and got to Marvel 3 and it was that SOS. I can get behind it. I can understand why it's going to be strange that there's no mags in the game. Even though that it's different. It's like we've gone through the history of this series. Magneto wasn't X-Men, Children of the Atom, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel 2 and Marvel 3. I'm like, you don't have very many characters who made an appearance in every game where they possibly could, where they made it. I'm like, the only character on Marvel who's done that is Wolverine. Because yes, let's just make sure we understand. X-Men, Children of the Atom, X-Men versus Street. No, I'm sorry. Let me see, hold up. X-Men Children of the Atom, Marvel Superheroes, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom 1, 2, and 3. The only Capcom character in history to make an appearance in every Marvel fighting game that exists is Wolverine. No other character has ever done that. The thing is that given Wolverine's function, who do you replace him with, though? Because there's really not a lot of characters who bring what Wolverine brings to the table in an overall package. So how do you break down the functions of a Wolverine? I'm like, we ain't seen Cyclops in years, but again, that goes to how popular a character is. I'm like, I get it from the business standpoint. We are Capcom, we are Marvel, because Marvel is Marvel. We don't fuck with Fox because they got the license and stuff, and then we have to ask permission to use characters. So then in that instance, when they sit down and be like, you want this character? Well, we can't give you this character, but we can do this. Then characters become function. Characters become function because of business. Mags is popular because of what that character has been through. You can associate that with the years of being on top of the Marvel tier list. You can attribute lots of that to it's Marvel, baby. You can attribute a lot, and the same for Sendo and the same for Storm. It's like you really sit up here and legitimately think about like when it ultimately came to pass is that because I remember those were like 3 characters that they announced towards the end of the build up to Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Like, those were characters they were going back and forth and up and down for. And I'm just like, the only thing I really remember about that was that Sentinel nerf that he never got a deserved, but didn't really technically do anything to a character, but a character who could have kind of sort of used the health and high level. So it is what it is. People learned and adapt and evolved for something people were crying over on Capcom Unity for a week, so. But back to the point, though. Functions, right? Is that at this point we are in a situation as fans as we sit back and we watch this is that between functions, between every one of your favorite top players is a damn shield for this video game, this shit is fucking nuts. It is. It's like, I'm not even finna get into that whole shield argument. I'm not even finna get into that, but the simple answer to what you're looking for, that's been the game. It's just that the thing is that the reason why it's so much backlash and outcry and defense and offense and things like that is because there are just some things that people want to keep secret. I'm like, the community is in the state it's in because people appropriated the culture to make sure they can stay on top because they have no power nowhere else in their lives. That's just game. Nothing can be done about that. That's just why the state is in. So that's why I'm not surprised to finally see people starting to wake the fuck up and shit I've been saying for fucking years. I'm like, it don't surprise me. It's like nothing stays secret forever. Sooner or later you slip up. While you stay the same, people changing, they adapting, they evolving. You can't get away with that 2009, 2011, 2012 bullshit in 2017 and not think a motherfucker gonna call you on it. That is the game. It is evolving, and that's what it is. This dysfunction shit is nothing but an evolution of the game. Now, you can't expect Combo Fiend in the squad to get out there and say, look, man, hey, Marvel don't want to fuck with no X-Men characters because that costs too much negotiating shit. So here, take this Nova. It's like brute force honesty would be respected, but in a world of the world of appease your masters, it's hard to get out there. It's like y'all want things, but don't sit up here and think about the other side of the fence. And even what I said earlier about the appropriation of culture, blah blah blah. People gonna do whatever the fuck they gotta do to eat. People have done unspeakable things in the name of making sure I can put food on the table. Trust me, I know. So while I don't appreciate it, I can respect it. I can respect that, that you can't just flatly get out here and say, we might get some once we work out this shit with Fox, man, we'll come back to this subject. But right now, enjoy Captain Marvel. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, for me, it don't really make me no damn difference. I read this shit, and honestly, at first, was set up for it took 2 seconds. Like, what's the uproar for? It's a character in the video game, but it's like, but I'm the same dude that won't Roy Barwell in a versus fighter, so I can't really talk. So it's like for someone who is like flat dab in the middle, who understands it from the only perspective that has to be understood on both sides of being business and personal, is from a business perspective, like we just said, Combo Fiend can't get out here and just say, hey, I know you want this, but you ain't getting this because of the bullshit we got to go through to get this. So you gonna have that. It's called meeting you halfway, and it's like that's something that y'all gotta learn. This is a business thing. It's like the game don't look the way you want to, blah blah blah. I'm like, I remember when y'all was saying King of Fighters 14 looked like a PS2 game, and I'm just like, must you just continue to just say dumb shit because you have a keyboard and allowed to say dumb shit? I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand because it's none of my fucking business. Hasn't been my business since 2012. Stop giving a fuck. But like I said though, I'm sitting here right now, as I'm sitting up here talking to you, and usually I get to these points before we get to the end to try to listen to what I said, gather my thoughts, rethink about it, and I'm still in the same place. Everybody talking shit about not playing this game, you gonna play the motherfucker. Get the hell off your high horse. Just because mags ain't in there, you ain't finna play the motherfucker? Bullshit. Just because ain't no Sentinel? Nah. I'm like, Sentinel is frying pan. I'm like, y'all sit up here and worship Sentinel for Marvel Capcom 3, but go play X-Men Trinity Atom. Some of the most amazing animation and sprite work I have ever seen in my life. Only equaled and in some instances surpassed by what Darkstalkers did between Darkstalkers, Darkstalkers Revenge, and fucking Vampire Savior. Or Darkstalkers 3 Jet of Damnation, depending on how you get down or what dip switches you want to fuck with, but still. I get it. It's like I said here, it's going through my thoughts, I get it. Is that, remember, what character is that was in Marvel? Super Skrull. Everybody was like, we want thing. We want human mixtape. We want Invisible Woman. We want Reedy Richards. But I'm like, Super Skrull was a meeting in the middle of Ben, Johnny, and Reed. And you got that in a character who, again, the functions that those three characters would have served on a character select screen fused into one character who was really fucking good. See, that's how you have to think about it. And now that I sat up here and got that example, there it is, right there. It's like now that I sit up here and I think about it, and we are in this conversation, I understand exactly what Combo Fan is saying, and it makes complete fucking sense now that I brought to myself the Super Scroll example. Is what is it that we can do to give you the best game possible, to give you what it is that you're screaming that you need, in a way that you may not understand right this second, but will when it's time for real. You know, that's what it is. It's like I said earlier. It's very bad business sense for a representative of Capcom, of Marvel, of anybody with this game, and say, you want this, but you can't get this because of legal bullshit, so here, have this. Which is technically what you're saying without trying to say it, because again, they have a product they are trying to promote and sell. So you're going to take the good with the bad. It's going to be what it's going to be, and the game is this. If you don't like it, you have Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, which is full of these functions that you love and really deeply care for and are willing to die on a hill for. But it's business. That's all it is. You niggas trying to point out shells. Business. These people got families to feed. They got to do what they got to do. A fact that I wish I would have understood back in 2009. I didn't understand about survivability then. It's like, it was community for a community that don't give a shit about you or less themselves or anything having to do anything with the word of the definition community, unless it is, very, financially possible to do so. Just saying, that's business. So, in 2017, I understand survivability. I understand that, internet been giving folks shit for the last couple of days on this, and it's like, well, okay, I get that, and I understand. People gonna do what they gotta do to feed their families, because trust me, I'm gonna do what it do. I'm gonna do what it take to feed mine. So I'm like, while back in the day, I may have not respected your decisions. I may have not done this, and you may have done this for fucked up selfish reasons. I respect your choice, but you paying for it now. You know what I'm saying? Like I said at the beginning of this, that old throwback shit that you pulled, streets too smart now. When we was littler, you could pull that shit off because there was no one brazen enough to question you. 2017, you got a whole side of the game screaming, we don't give a fuck, constantly. You can't fight against that. When there was just one me with a motherfucking thought, that's one thing. But when you get a group of motherfuckers together that's not playing that bullshit, yeah, it is what it is. So, we'll see. We'll see what functions are, what functions shall be, and it's like, again, like I say, at the end of the day, I understand. I'm like, I sort of understood it when I activated the mic. I understand now, definitely. From both the business and a personal thing. That like, if that you may not, it's like everybody don't get what they want all the time. It's like they sitting up here, if the rumors are true, it'll be plenty of time to get those characters in there. If you literally believe that the character is more important than the function that they serve as a part of the fighting game, then you gonna get what you want at some point. But I'm sitting up here now, I just thought of this from a whole different way that I just thought about. See, now we going to be here longer. See, that's what y'all get for letting me think. I remember this is a little mini story, about the first Skullgirl when they was choosing DLC characters. And I had wrote a blog or whatever, and if I remember the link, and I will, because I was trying to figure out, like, what character it was that I wanted to vote for. I ended up writing this long thing about each character and looking at, what Mike Z had to say about the character, about what they would bring to the table and their design and this and this and that, and worked out that information. So I've been here and done this before. is that character function is very important. It is that you need the archetypes, your basic archetypes. You need to spin off of these archetypes. You need something very special that clashes with everything else. You need that jambalaya, that gumbo of fighting games to make sense. And Marvel vs. Capcom has always been that. But see, the thing is that when it comes to the Versus series and when it comes to functions, and this is exactly what I'm going to speak on, is that while characters are created a certain way, is that we the players go in and we put in the lab work, put in the time, put in the grind, blood, sweat, tears, the whole nine. And then those characters became that. I can guarantee you, and I'm going to say this live, that if we just going to go Marvel 2, where they sat up here and just threw shit at the wall and put 56 characters, 54 and 2 Wolverines in this motherfucker, and a Surf Bot. Well, that's 53, 2 Wolverines and a Surf Bot. But hell, like you tell you after Street Surf Bot better than Roll, and it's just like you get the where's my butt point is when they put 56 characters on their Globe character select screen. Back in 2000, they didn't expect that 3 or 4 years in the game life, the streets would figure out Max. That they would ultimately come to understand about DP Invisible Assist. That game became what it became, not because it was created that way, but it ultimately became that way when people cracked it open. Who's to say that Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite won't be different? I'm like, yo, I'm seeing all these death videos and like, yo, that's going to work. Well, what do you expect from a lab monster like him? Is that, yeah, characters can't be assigned functions, reason of being, raison d'etre, all that old shit. But it's going to be you, the player, that's going to figure out how those functions work and how it ultimately becomes to be. I'm like, I said this last week, I understand what this game is trying to do, what it's trying to be, and I'm with everything with it. And it's like, again, that's why I'm glad that I turn on the mic and I say these things, because it gives me a chance to work through my thoughts. It gives me a chance to sit up here and to try to see this from every different possible dimensional angle. And I'm like, this video is supposed to be over 10 minutes ago. Seriously, this was supposed to be functions, blah, 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 shield, blah, 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 history, old man. But we done got into this, and I'm sitting up here every time I sit up here and think about something. Like, yo, that's a new way to look at it. So, here we are. We started with functions of business and personal, got a little bit on the history from the throwback shit, and sitting up here now realizing how functions for characters in your fighting game is important, because that's what the game is made of. So yeah, while your character may not be physically in the video game when it come out, the things that made that character who they are will be available in other characters. This is technically the every fighting game that came out between 97 and 99 defense. Because that's something I've wanted to say for a long time. Think about the games that came out. Well, one game in particular that was supposed to do that game being Vampire Slavery with Anita. But think about it. At that time, what? You had Tekken 3, which completely like reset, which jumped 15 years into the future. Gave Jin one of the greatest movesets in fighting game history between his mama and his daddy. Let me see, what else? You had to reset. It was just like you had that. To a degree, you had Rock and Garou, because he became this weird function of not being able to have Geese, but being a fusion with Terry Bogard and things like that, and having those movesets available. And it's like you had Kushnu, but aka Marco Rodriguez, who was a representative of Kugokyujin karate and things like that. The ultimate example is Street Fighter 3. And that's when you had amalgamations of characters. Necro, probably the most important example that I could mention, is that Necro was the combination of Dawson and fucking Geef, right? Electro Storm. You got this kind of sort of record character with the long limbs and got some decent throws, right? You know what I'm saying? So this isn't new. This isn't a new thing. Like, this is a thing that has been happening forever. Oh, another example, Groove on Fight. Groove on Fight was a whole bunch of that. Where functions of characters were given to characters because it was a big old monkey time step. Solus, we love you. One of these days, me and Evil Freak, we gonna play some Groove on Fight, even though I think we might have played that game like one time. But Groove on Fight is my shit. Like, I play Groove on Fight randomly all the time. So we gonna play some Groove on Fight. But this is why I do this. Because it allows me to sit up here and get through these feelings. So it's like, where I was at 20 minutes ago is not where I'm at right now, because I'm sitting up here thinking about it from this whole different angle of, this is a thing that's been done forever. This is not like some new thing that just Combo Fiend just fucking made up a couple of fucking days ago. This is something that's always happened. I just sat up here and we did the time skip defense, because that's what I'm gonna call it. During that weird thing right before the new millennium, everybody was doing fucking time skips. I don't know where it started. I don't know if it was Dragon Ball GT when it came out back in the day that sat up here and was like, everybody do the time skip. I don't know. But like I said, I'm like, we sat up here and we talked about that. Like Jen, Julia, Brian Fury. I'm like, who else in that game had like an amalgamated moveset in Tekken 3? Let me see. Jen, Julia, Brian. Let me see. Hold up. Harwang. Let me see. Wait. Hold up. I'm almost done. Let me think about characters. I know there's somebody I'm missing, because you still had the core fighters. You still had Nina and King, and let me see. I can't really think of nobody else, but those are four major characters who had like amalgamated movesets. I'm like, you could technically say Gunjack, but that don't really make as much sense because it's different. Because it's like, we have the next generation. We have masters and sons and daughters, or adopted daughters in some instances, or just characters, period, who are created. I'm like, it's like Tekken 7 did that. I'm like, Gigas and Josie, and even Lucky Chloe. Everybody loves her, right? You know what I'm saying? It's like, this is nothing new. Functions being moved elsewhere. This is not some new revolutionary fucking thing that, like I said, that Combo Fiend just fucking thought of. It's not. I've just sat up here and just showed you the myriad of examples of characters whose functions have been moved elsewhere. So don't get in a bunch about it. Don't get in a bunch about a thing that's been done forever. You know what I'm saying? Just don't do it. Just don't get in a bunch about stuff that's been done. Like I said, Street Fighter 3, Tekken 3, Groove on Fight. I'm like, what other fighting games that came out at that point that were doing time skips? I can't even. I'm like, I used to have a list of this. What, Garo? I named that earlier. The characters that were doing time skips and functions for your favorite characters being moved in one way or another. Here's another example I just thought of in a way that makes sense. Functions don't necessarily have to be moves, right? Bonjane. You needed a cutie sex spot with a nice chest. The originator of boobies, of making sure that they're front and center, Nipponichi. To a somewhat degree. You had Kevin Ryan. You know what I'm saying? Who was a weird shoot character and stuff like that. Just like, because I forget for the life of me, like, they supposed to be related somehow. Like, he's supposed to know somebody that know Mary or something like that. But still, my point though, it's like, again, we sit up here and now I'm sitting up here 25 minutes into this motherfucker, and I'm figuring out functions and other. I'm like, Here's a perfect example that I can sit up here and go through and name, and it's not really function as in fight, as in like it's fights, as functions as just like we talked about with Bonds and Nate. Another prime example is Maximum Impact. Those being Alba, Sori, Lien, and Neon Berbay. You know what I'm saying? Like Alba and Sori in this technical retelling of the story of Fatal Fury 1, or Terry and Andy. You have Fate, who is their Jeff Bogard, and you got Duke, who is really legitimately in the story fucking Geese Howard after Geese Howard then fell out the tower for real. You have Lien Neville, who is supposed to be an American take on the Japanese Masha Inui with the big tits and the laser beams and such. And then you have, to a degree, you have the inexperienced magic girl Mia Barrett, who is supposed to be this parallel to Athena Asamiya as a character who uses psychic energy to fight. See? Functions, right? When you want to do something and how you do it, functions, when it comes to fighting game, can be necessitated in various ways. And in this theory that I'm sitting up here, being Uncle Triple, you know what I'm saying, doing what I do better than anybody else in the biz, and that's, we just sat up here and we've discussed this into the dirt. I don't really think no more can be said. At the end of the day, the game is this. Functions being shifted from one character to the other, whether it's what that character represents or how that character fights or anything in general, period, is not a new fucking thing. So internet, calm y'all punk asses down. There you go. See? Helping me help you help your motherfucking self. A triple the G.O.D. staple. See? Again, this is why I love turning the mic on. This is why. This right here. Because it gives me a chance to sit up here, to take what it is that y'all, what wave y'all surfing on, wipe that wave away and surf my own surfboard. Because see, I'm on another level with this shit. And I just proved it. And I'm not sitting up here talking shit because I'm like, I sat up here, like I said, and I went and I've read, you know, at the places where you read, to just sit up here and, you know, to make the mistake of gathering thoughts of others, because I did that before I recorded. But it's like, didn't nobody come up with functions the way that I just put functions in this place. So, again, like I said, this ain't shit new. This ain't shit new. Y'all sitting over here getting pissy over functions, but fighting games been doing this shit for fucking years. I just thought of another extreme fucking example that ain't nobody gonna fucking come up with, because who the fuck plays these games? Foodie and Chin Mao from the Asura series. See, Foodie was this special character in the Asura Blade. They took Foodie out and replaced her with Chin Mao, who is that character, but a whack version of the character, so it's technically going in reverse. So now you got a homework assignment. Go play Asura Blade and Asura Buster. I'm like, even in that same series, you have Alice, who was a little girl in Asura Blade, but she grew up a little bit in Asura Buster, and her whole moveset changed. But you can still play as original Alice in Asura Buster, though. See? This ain't shit new. Ain't shit new. Done all the time. Example after example after example after example. It's what it is. But yo, I'm gonna go ahead and turn this off. I'm like, yo, I'm glad that I sat up here, turned on the mic this morning. I hope you learned something. I hope that, for real, that you sit up here and you really think about this function debate in a whole different way. That you do. That you think about this function shit in a whole different way. Because I'm just sat up here and I just laid the proof out for you. This ain't shit new. Fighting games been doing this since what, 9-7? Because I can't really, like, if the lineage of fighting games, if we take it from a Street Fighter 2 is the beginning of the technical lineage, even though you got Karate Fight and all that old stuff. Something about a bull being kicked in the head. You know what? Go play Fighters History Dynamite. Go do that. But my point is, like I said, functions for what characters do in fights and what they represent to the game themselves have been done forever. Been done. I would say, for real. Groove on Fight, I think came out what 96. So I would because it's like because I know Groove on Fight came out before New Generation. That much I remember because Savior was last because Savior had came out near the end of 97, right? I want to say it was either the end of 97, the beginning or the end of 97, but I know in that lineage of games, it's like, I want to say Groove on Fight, New Generation, Tekken, and then Savior. I want to say that was the order those four major games came in, and then G.O.D came out in 99. But like I said, fighting games been doing this for years. Shifts and functions. Were necessary to do what is necessary, what needs to be done. That's that. I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here. I'd like to thank you for, this morning and whatever the hell it says. I'm glad we were able to have this conversation. As one-sided as it is. As one-sided as it won't be once you guys start commenting about everything I just fucking said. So there is that too. So there you go. We'll go ahead and get up out of here. You know who it is. It's the one and the only, the triple, the G.O.D. I'd like to thank you for joining me for another installment of Triple the Guy Speaks On. And with that, I'll see you guys next time, man. Peace out.